Let's jump in today's Revo Business and Industry Chats. I have the privilege of yarning with Chris, a well-known legend in the toll packing industry who spends his time sorting out what people want to put on the shelf and does it from woe to go. Right, so Chris, for people who don't know you, who you are, what Brand Nation does, describe what you do, mate.
We're a super flexible contract manufacturer of powdered food products, supplements, etc. Also, we run a very busy e-commerce 3PL. I suppose what we are is we're an incubator for people with ideas. So people come to us with an idea. We try to guide them through the path, guide them through the roadblocks, actually. I love the word roadblocks because everyone throws in lots of roadblocks all through the journey. My background's been as a brand owner, as a using contract manufacturers, using 3PLs, developing new brands and products. So I sort of know all the paths that people go through, the headaches that they have, and I try to pull down those roadblocks so that people can launch a product and a new brand within 12 weeks or 6 months and not have to spend a lot of money on consultants to do it.
I bet people like that speed to market, because that can be critical sometimes, as I'm sure you're well aware. So what was like, the point where you sort of, you're a brand owner doing other stuff. So what was that point that made you go, I'm going to start a toll processing manufacturing business?
I'd sold a business about 7 years ago and had to come up with something new to do. What we developed this concept to try and put as a brand owner, as a brand owner, I'd gone through the journey of trying to get my bill of materials as low as possible, so I had more margin. And to do that, I had to hunt around for contract manufacturers that would allow me to buy my own materials and ingredients. Most contract manufacturers want to buy them for you, put 25% margin on, and then sell you a finished product with your label on it. That starves brand owners of the margin that they need for marketing. So when we went to market, we dissected one brand. It was a 1.2 kilo protein they were buying for $28. We reverse engineered it, calculated there was $20 worth of ingredients. There was 25% margin added on top, so $5 margin added on top by the co-packer, and a $3 packing fee. And we went to the brand owner and said, we'll make that for just a $3 packing fee. You put $5 more into marketing. And all of a sudden we saw these brands, once we started manufacturing, these brands being able to increase their marketing spend and increase their sales. So we won as a result of giving them a better deal.
Not many people would do that, give away that extra margin, but it's actually smart, I guess, because, look at the growth you're having with it. So it's like one of those things that's really worked. So I guess that was the sort of the main opportunity you saw in the market. But was there any like light bulb moment or anything? It was just like, you just saw that after you sold your business, when actually we did this, we can do it better.
I suppose the next part of the journey was when one of our customers asked us 2 years into it to do their e-commerce 3PL. So that was an afterthought. And that sort of started cross-pollinating. We'd have brands that wanted 3PL and they were using other manufacturers, and they came to us and said, look, you may as well do both for us. So that was an interesting journey, a real growth journey through COVID. We went through, in 18 months, we moved 4 different warehouses, 2 of those during lockdowns, which was really interesting. And we've sort of grown from, I suppose, overall from having a smallish business in maybe 300 square meters to now we're at about 3,700 of warehouse and multiple factories.
Wow.
And I think the key is just every time we go into a discussion with someone, we're working on a solution, and we don't charge for any of that solution. It's really, a coffee's free, so it's catching up with people and just being open-minded to their new concepts and ideas.
I guess with that, you're sort of developing a new way of interacting with your clients, and it's obviously paying dividends. So I think that's quite impressive, because a lot of people, you're right, it's like charge all of those consultancy fees and everything along the way. So I'm actually impressed with that, mate. So then it's like, so what, how do you explain like the value that you bring? Because I guess that's a different sort of conversation. So how do you explain the value that Brand Nation brings to its brand owners, retailers, manufacturers, 3PLs, customers?
It's really breaking down the roadblocks. Most people will come to us either at the very start of a concept or once they're almost ready to give up on it, and they would have been told, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. A lot of that, we break down those barriers or provide them with the fastest route to actually achieving what they want to achieve. And that's probably, I suppose, our biggest part of what I love doing is seeing these concepts go from concept to reality, because it's not like people come to us and the brand owners, the mothers, they're working other jobs and they want a side hustle, and we've had some unicorns that have become enormous businesses for people who really were walking into it not knowing where to go.
Everyone loves those unicorns, and I do know you've had a couple of those. But so then, like, is there any specific products or categories that you work with? Or are you open to anyone packing anything to have a crack at it?
So e-commerce wise, it's anything at all. So windscreen wipers, clothing, supplements as well. From manufacturing point of view, people have come to us and said, can you do this? And we've said, well, not currently, but then we've gone and bought machinery to be able to do it. So case in point was we installed a supplement plant about a year and a half ago, and as soon as we brought that in, the plant was full. Probably not the best way to describe that, but yeah.
You guys don't do any liquids, do you?
Just powders at the moment. So we're looking for opportunities. An opportunity might be that we end up having 15 skincare brands. So we put them, so we install a skincare factory. That could be something that we look at in the future. We're pulling lots of levers as well all the time.
Anyone skincare listening to this, speak to Chris, because he might then be able to build you a factory to go with it if the volumes are there. Right, okay. So what does a typical customer come to you for? Is it like the flexibility of how you work, the capacity, the scale, the speed, or is there any typical thing around that, or is it just...
It's trying to work out that path. I suppose we don't advertise, we don't have a sales rep on the road. It's just word of mouth and referrals, and that just seems to keep us busy. Probably 2 to 3 referrals every week come through, and some of those take, let's say from a manufacturing point of view, they might take 12 weeks or a year to come to fruition, but we're always there along the journey there.
That's impressive that, you're not advertising, yet you are so busy and expanding, hence behind you, the new warehouse. Talking about manufacturing realities. So what is you see now as the biggest challenge for running operation in New Zealand with toll processing? And again, as well, touching on the 3PL, is there anything that's just like the real grr at the moment?
I always stay positive about stuff. So the only thing would be diesel prices, and I think the couriers need to be given probably a better go from New Zealand Post and the other suppliers. From a 3PL point of view, our courier is our lifeblood to the world. So I think it's about giving everyone a really fair go in what they're doing. So never really see anything negative. Yeah.
Because I guess, there's a lot of people that are constantly like seeing all the bad sides of everything. So love that. So with your role, it's like, how do you sort of go about balancing efficiency, quality, responsiveness? Because, you just said then that in the previous one that some things take 12 weeks and then can take a year. So how do you balance out that?
Having good people on board. Both of my factory managers I've worked with for about 30 years. So I had good, solid relationships with them. My ops manager at the 3PL, same thing, known him for 30 years. So knowing the people, knowing their talents and putting them in place.
And I think that's often underestimated as well, as you just said, knowing their talents and putting them in place. I think that is often underestimated. So speaking of underestimated, what do you think is something that customers often underestimate about the complexity of manufacturing in your space?
Probably compliance and food safety is key. But we have a consultant we work with that is extremely good and helps guide people through that path. So it's not too hard. It's actually not too hard. That's probably the key is it's not rocket science. You just need someone who's going to give you a fair go.
If you've got the right people doing, you've got those key people in place, you've obviously got the key person there with your compliance side of it. And if you can bring those all together, it just goes a lot smoother. And if they're doing it all the time, of course, makes it easier too. Where do you see the most pressure points right now? So, you say you're sort of like always positive and stuff. Is there anything there with like labor, materials, lead times, compliance, demand volatility, apart from diesel, anything like that that's impacting you?
We haven't increased our prices since we started. I know a lot of people have, and a lot of people have accommodated that pressure. We just try to build more efficiency and evolve. And a lot of technology is now focused on that, I suppose, working the efficiency out. A lot of our development, this new warehouse that we're in at the moment, is designed for super efficiency. So we try to squeeze more out of the process than the price.
It's being able to run that whole lean sort of style way, but not fully lean, but having it so those efficiencies across the whole process are just working to help your clients and customers. If you're not increasing your price in that period, it's like, that's impressive. And it must show that you are just doing the right thing with it. And I guess, that will also then help your brands that you are producing for. Okay, so let's talk about that brand owner expectations then, because this is probably, again, quite critical, because again, they have come to you with expectations. So from your point of view, what makes a good customer or partner? Or is that a bit of a hard one because it's so varied?
It is so varied, and you're dealing with, again, you're not dealing with people who have been experienced brand owners. They've come up with an idea, they want to get it to market. So we've got such a variation of different people in terms of customers. A lot of people aren't commercial to start with. They haven't come from a marketing background or a business or a sales background. They've just got an idea. And I love that, because we all learn off each other, and obviously have some great conversations around business, around brands. And that's what I thrive on, is probably, again, that incubating thing.
It can help mold the whole process as well, so they're not coming with preconceived ideas, I guess. Is there anything that sort of the best brand owners or best businesses come to you with their project or ideas that makes it easier for you or something, if they've got sort of stuff in line? Or is it just come to you with the ideas and we can make it work?
We can work it. Yeah, we can work it out from there. Just nut it out. Again, with, I suppose, my background, my knowledge gives me a lot of contact and a lot of people that I can refer people to. So we do a lot of referrals, again, for compliance and formulations and things like that, to help people along the way, to make sure that they are getting a fair deal as well. So we do delve into if a customer's buying ingredients and other things for their product, we delve into the pricing and making sure that, I suppose, if you get treated like a small customer from day one, or a small business, you'll price yourself as if you are a small business, and it's very hard to become a big business if you're using that model. So we work with people on their bill of materials to make sure that they are costing it as if they were big, and that their suppliers also treating them as if they were ordering in large volumes from day one.
I hear that a lot with dealing with a lot of small businesses in New Zealand as well, with our packaging side of it. You hear that a lot, that people get frustrated with suppliers across the board, and they just say this is how they feel they are being treated. It's like, they order, I don't know, let's just say whatever widget it is, and they know that the company they used to work for was buying that same thing for $1 and they're paying $2. And it's only because that other company is paying 10, not one at a time. And that is frustrating, right?
If you go to market with a retail price of $59 because your suppliers are overcharging you, but if you were bigger, you'd be able to retail at $39. You actually will never get to $39 if you've been treated at the $59 price, if that makes sense. So we do try to give our packing fee for small trial runs is the same as large runs, so that people can actually have a proper bill of materials from day one.
Again, I know from our packaging side of it, when we're manufacturing packaging, it's based on the machine time and all of that, and that's sort of outside of our control. So we do charge a lot more for smaller runs. When someone comes to us and they want, 500 pouches even, we can do one pouch if someone wants to get one pouch for a trial, but it's going to cost all of that machine time for setups and all of that. And unfortunately, I guess that's one of the hardest things. But we also look at it from a bigger picture too and go, hey, this is where you can be when you get to that. So we're letting people know. And it is quite hard, because I guess people are trying to do everything right, and get that price point, as you say, get to that $39 point versus the $59 point and be competitive.
Sometimes all that is advising them, take your film and plates out of the bill of materials. That's actually a setup cost, and cost your product based on the unit price, not amortizing the film and plates. And that by itself changes the unit price considerably. So some of it's just working on the logic. Yeah.
It's a lot of these chats that I'm having with people, this comes up a lot, right? Understanding your numbers, right? Knowing your cogs, it's critical. And I think that could be really a common mistake that people make, is adding in all of those extra costs as the first times is not a setup cost, and then they continue to drag that through their costing model. So that's that's real key. How important is it for your customers to understand packaging, production constraints, supply chain planning before they launch? Or do you take care of sort of as much of that, letting them know all the details?
Yeah, we take care of most of that. It's a lot easier and faster if I work with my team on that solution than having to go back and forward with the customer on it. So we do work with them. We do take a lot of that load off.
With the packaging and product development, how early do packaging discussions come into the process with your clients?
So our process is typically we make an introduction to a food technologist for formulations. That food technologist will come up with their nutrition information panel and the ingredients and everything like that. At that point, then it's straight to packaging and design. So we've got a couple of designers that we refer people to, and then through the packaging journey, having the right die lines, getting quotes on 1,000 units, 5,000, 10,000, so you have that variation in bill of materials. So packaging is really that second step after formulation.
Because often, people come to us with their packaging requirement, and it's at the tail end of it when they've been approved into retail, and they've got their formulation ages ago, and then they're like, oh my God, we need packaging next week because we've got to have the product packed and ready to go into store in 2 weeks' time. And it's like, uh-oh. Do you ever have anyone come to you with their packaging pre-done and it doesn't fit your machinery? Do they need to make sure what that is right for what you're doing?
Not really. We're in the process early enough to actually give them guidance on that. I suppose with a lot of the more recent packaging styles like composite tubs and things like that, we had to customize machinery for that. So that was very specific with the likes of Dose & Co and other brands like that. So now that is one of our specialty lines. But we had to air freight that machine in because this was earlier on in the journey, but we received the tubs, received the packaging, and there wasn't a machine in New Zealand that could see them, so we had to air freight new machinery over that. But now we've got a pretty good kit of every piece of machinery we need.
But sometimes it's not easy, some of these packaging formats, the machinery side of it can take half a year.
Yeah, and every brand owner, as soon as they have their packaging ready, they want it filled. So, and we want the same thing. Everyone wants some instant gratification when that project gets to that point.
Yeah, well, brand owners, love to see their product in the wild, right? That's what I see when they go to the supermarket for the first time, or the whatever store they've got it into, if it's a chemist or a boutique store, and they see it actually on the shelf. I reckon that must be the ultimate moment, because I get excited when it's packaging I've done for someone. I hunt them out like they are in the wild and go, wow, this is cool, because I've been in that process with it. Is there any common mistake that you see that people make, or that they try with their packaging choices or anything, or is it not really because you guide them early?
Because we guide them early, but typically it will be compliance, packaging compliance, and again the food tech that we use is amazing on actual packaging compliance. Or labeling compliance. So as long as we follow that process, food tech, he creates the label. He creates the information for the label, goes to design and packaging. Then we bypass any issues with labeling. But we have seen some shockers over time.
Yeah, I think everybody's seen some shockers happen, eh? So how do you balance that performance, cost, shelf life, sustainability, et cetera, and all of that with the packaging choices? Or is that sort of what you let them with their designer and the food tech sort of worry about?
We work through that with them and give them guidance if we don't believe that it's the right type of packaging. Compostable packaging is a bit of a sort of misnomer. It's you really have to have a lower shelf life. You can't really be above, I think, 6 to 9 months or so. But everyone wants, a lot of people want to start their journey with compostable packaging. So that's something we do discuss the pros and cons with. E-commerce is very different from retail. When you've got an e-commerce brand, with us manufacturing every 6 to 8 weeks with us, we like to keep fresh products and keep that. We don't push people to make 6 months worth of product. So when you are producing that regularly and you're going through e-commerce, you don't have your product sitting in a supermarket warehouse for 3 months before it goes to the store and another month before it goes onto the shelf. So a lot of products in market can be 6 to 12 months old before it actually hits the retail shelf. E-commerce is very dynamic. So we help customers forecast out their requirements. We've got great software around forecasting based on historical data and factoring in some new growth. So essentially, when you're in e-commerce, you run a production. You have product in the warehouse for, let's say, a month. When you're shipping that to a customer, and it's, let's say, a 30-day serving size, you know that product's going to be used within 3 months of manufacture. So that actually brings down a lot of the risk factors in food, where you have to have a 2-year shelf life on something just to accommodate 12 months of the supply chain. So I put a lot of emphasis on e-commerce.
Because you actually do run as well, smaller run sizes for clients as well. So you're not pushing them for that bigger one.
Exactly. Would prefer people to have as much money set aside for marketing as possible. So if someone wants us to produce 100 units for a run or 200 units, we'll do that. And even if it's quite a complex package.
I've been in this game for quite a while, for 30 years in the packaging industry, and sort of touched around it, being with a lot of manufacturing sites. And that's probably critical because not many places can actually do that. They have to run that large scale and everything. So that's actually really good. And I think that's probably a part of the reason why you've actually continued to grow as well. Because, you said it's word of mouth. And of course, people are going to be going, hey, these guys do this and these guys do that. And I think it's really good as well that you help people through that whole journey. When you're talking there and you talked about the visibility and stuff around forecasting and that, because that goes next level, because you're not just doing pack the stuff and chuck it in a container, packing, whatever, put it into this and throw it on the shelf, and they've got to sort the rest out. Because as well, it's that change and growth and everything that happens with it, you're sort of helping them do that by being able to do that. So over the years, how have you sort of seen the business change? It's 7 years. Has there been any monumental changes or shifts that you've seen in that period?
Definitely more. Obviously, through COVID, e-com went berserk, and we're sending out around about 50,000 parcels a month at the moment for, again, over 100 different brands. So I think that really cemented it in there. A lot of the influencer things probably dropped off a lot. So the brands are really focused on their own individual marketing as opposed to pushing through lots of different influencers.
I work with a few places that get product packed from you, packed at your site, and they said that you have a online digital platform where they can look in, because I've had, speaking to someone on the phone, they say, hold on, I'll just look at how much stock I've got. Is that used quite often, and how updated is that? It sounds pretty cool. It's like that new technology that's sort of pushing ahead versus someone having to ring you up and you got to send someone down to go down and count and make sure.
So we found we were looking for software that would work. We'd tried different inventory software like Sin7 and Unleashed, and we've used those historically in the past. And then we found a platform that was e-commerce enabled. It was actually created for e-commerce, opposed to being created 10 years ago for another industry and then adapted. So it is very focused on stock management, forecasting, and all of our customers actually have their own logins to our portal. Software solution that we have that manages all of our pick locations, gives a lot of visibility on where stock is, how much stock there is, the forecasting as well. Unleashed and Sin7 as stock, as inventory management systems have sort of increased from about $200 a month up to $800. Some of our customers are paying $2,000 a month for Unleashed or Sin 7. Our system basically does the same process for inventory control, but the license agreement that we have is only $10 per client per month, sorry. So every new client, we pay $10 extra. We don't actually have we don't on charge that. We just offer that as a free service. So it's that by itself is quite a powerful tool and quite a cost-saving tool. It's called Zementry, but people log in. It's white labeled, so it's under Brand Nation anyway. But it is called Zementry. It's an awesome piece of software.
I guess that's critical when you say that pricing's gone from this to this to this with other platforms. It's like, man, that does make it hard. You know, we use various platforms as well, and we've looked for those best ones that suit us and that are reasonably priced. If someone's launching a new product for the first time, what are 3 things you'd like to tell them to get right?
Come to us first, to be honest. Look, it's challenging roadblocks. The roadblocks are the things that really make concepts die. And we've seen a lot of people get to that point where they're so frustrated. So I think it's always challenging roadblocks and getting some additional advice on it. And roadblocks could be people saying that you have to do 2 years of shelf life testing or something similar to that. That probably sums the whole thing up is drive through roadblocks. It's really the only way to get a product to market. So, there's an interesting example is there's a multinational in New Zealand, and their NPD process takes 2 years. They bought a small and nimble company that could develop a product within 6 months purely so that they could launch more products into the marketplace. So the corporate, through their bureaucracy, couldn't launch anything within 2 years, but they had to buy another company, separate management, to be able to produce new innovations very quickly. And I suppose that's what happens in the business world, is people actually have to have that delineation between what is this process and what can be nimble.
There are a lot of businesses in New Zealand that are very slow at that. They have the great ideas, but you're right, they get bogged down in corporatization that just stops it. One question that founders should be asking any manufacturer partner they're working with in the get-go.
Probably scale. It's and similar with packaging as well. Whenever you go into something, if you're looking at making 1,000 units, get a price on 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, and cost your product as if your first order is going to be 10,000. So start with a low bill of materials.
I'm also liking how you constantly say roadblocks. There's no, you just drive through them, get it out of the way, find a way around it, just drive over it. What's the most common reason that a product stumbles from a manufacturing side, in your opinion?
People saying you can't do this and you can't do that. That's the end of the end. I suppose that's the end result of just people being negative, And if they don't want to give it, if they've got mates that don't want to give it a go, they think that they should project negativity onto the person who's got the great idea and wants to drive it ahead.
Mate, just support everybody, get amongst it.
Exactly. And I honestly, people can develop my son, interesting. My son wanted to make candles and sell them to people down the road, and this was when he was 11. And I said, jump on to Shopify. He made his own Shopify website in about 3 hours. He made his first batch of candles. He made, I think, 80 odd candles just in a crock pot. So an 11-year-old kid could create a fucking candle empire if he wanted to. And I think that's as simple as it is. You jump in, understand everything, understand how Shopify works, understand how things work, because you don't need consultants all the way along. You don't need to spend a lot of money developing a product. A formulation can be developed for maybe $400 or $500. So you're no longer in this area where people have to spend 10 grand to develop a protein formulation. It can be done within a couple of hours, a couple of $100. So again, the cash isn't always the roadblock.
People just look at it differently, and they do just wonder and no one understands those costs if they don't know, right? So I think in this journey, it is key to come and speak to people like yourself in your business and go, hey, this is what my idea is. And again, I know like quite a few people that in New Zealand, I feel we've got a really great community of people that are there to help each other and support. You can lean into this, you can lean into that, and you've actually got those right people around you. As long as you actually get to the right person and the right people, they will all help and pass you around that group of core people that they know will do it right. They may not be able to do it. Someone might come to me for something. I go, look, I can't do it, but hey, give blah, blah, blah a call. But some people just won't do that. And that's freaking it. If a brand wants to build a long-term manufacturing partnership, what does that look like from your perspective?
From my perspective, it's probably comes down to that thing that I would rather manufacture for someone once a month or once every 2 months than once every 6 months. So manufacture fresh batches regularly, and we're always in contact with each other. So we do work pretty closely with a lot of our manufacturing customers, large and small, and yeah, it's just phone calls.
Communication's key, eh? So where do you see the biggest opportunity for Brand Nation in the next 2 to 3 years?
Technology and e-commerce, I think, or technology overall. We've invested quite a lot in our manufacturing side now. We have capability to do pretty much every powder product. The next step is more automation and e-commerce, which will be robotics, which will be AI. I used to hate the phrase AI, but it is, we need to grab hold of that and adopt that as quickly as possible in our business, which we are at the moment.
Yeah, I think that is starting to come across as a lot of people were sort of afraid of it, and now they're going, actually, we need to embrace it and use it to create time. Anything that can be automated and do through that process, let's jump onto it, do what we can. And I guess that's now, like, the changes you're making in the market and preparing for. Is there anything else that you're sort of going, hey, this could be the next thing, we are going to get prepared for this?
Definitely in the robotic system for warehousing. We've looked into that quite a bit. We are waiting for that point where it goes from new technology costing $3 million for a robotic system to $1.2 million because it's been rolled out a little bit more. So it's still in its infancy. It's not the right time to invest in it yet, I don't think, but it could be in 3 months' time. It is rapidly changing. And that gives us more capability from a storage point of view, a processing point of view, being able to run the warehouse 24/7.
I've seen some pretty cool robotic systems for pick and pack operations, mainly around grocery. So Ocado in the UK, I don't know if you've seen their stuff, maybe check it out. I've got some YouTube videos about their pick and pack. It is for grocery, so I don't know whether that would be similar, but it blew my mind watching it. We were working with a crowd that was doing some of their recyclable or reusable vessels, hence the reason we were able to, got onto this and had a look at it. I remember the first robotics picking up cartons and stacking them. Massively expensive. What excites you most about the role you guys play in helping a brand in New Zealand?
Just watching them grow, watching the excitement. We've probably got three new brands that are releasing in the next 2 to 3 weeks. It's watching the founders get to this point in their journey where they're holding this beautiful package that they've been working on for the last 3 or 6 or 12 months, and being part of that. So the warehouse is always active, the factory's always active. I would say 70% of the brands that we work with weren't around before lockdown. So we always turn the lockdown brands because they were ideas people came up with during lockdown. So probably 30% have been around for longer than 6 years, which means that it's always, there's lots of fresh activity.
And that's quite crazy that there's that many brands in that period since you've been operating. But thank you very much for your time. So if people want to find out more about Brand Nation, where's the best place to start?
Just give me a call. My cell phone number's on the website, which means it's always busy, but give me a call or an email. That's the main thing.
Thank you very much again for your time, mate. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, cheers, buddy.
Close.